Hello AP Biology students, we're going to go over the 17th section in Unit 3. And in this section, we're going to learn about something called the Krebs cycle. Now this cycle has a special place in my heart because this is really where I started to fall in love with biology. I can remember doing a project about the Krebs cycle in my biology classes and got to thinking, hey, maybe I can be a bio teacher. But with all that being said, let's talk about the Krebs cycle. It was first discovered by somebody named Hans Krebs. Typically nowadays, we try to not name things after people, but this cycle is also known as the TCA cycle, or the citric acid cycle. But in here, I like to refer to it as the Krebs cycle. This cycle occurs in the mitochondrial matrix. And basically in this process, there are a lot of enzymes and organic molecules that are going to react with each other. There's also going to be ATP produced through something called substrate level phosphorylation. For every glucose molecule that enters cellular respiration, the Krebs cycle is going to turn twice. What that basically means is we're going to get two of these acetyl-CoAs, and they're both going to go through this process. Now, there is a whole lot of things that are going on here. If you'd like to write these down, I'm going to just let you pause here and write these down. But I think it's easier to go over the cycle with an image than to just talk about all the things that are going on here. And the reason why I have these items in red is I don't have the students memorize in my classes the names of the molecules. So anything in red, I tell the students, hey, this is just for extra knowledge and to be able to kind of decipher one of these diagrams. So remember that from the prep step, we are getting an acetyl-CoA molecule. What the important part of that molecule is the acetyl group here, which is 2 carbons. This 2-carbon molecule is going to bind with oxyl acetate, which is a 4-carbon molecule, and it's going to form a 6-carbon molecule called citrate. Citrate is going to become something called ketoglutarate after a carbon dioxide is removed, and NAD becomes NADH. When NAD becomes NADH, it's going to be reduced. This is because NAD is gaining electrons and a hydrogen ion. If you look here, we went from having 6 carbons in citrate to 5 carbons in ketoglutarate because we lost a carbon in the form of carbon dioxide. A very similar process is going to occur next when ketoglutarate becomes succinate. This is where NAD becomes NADH, it's going to be reduced, and a CO2 is going to be produced. Again, we're losing a carbon here. This is a 5-carbon molecule, this is a 4-carbon molecule. Now, this 4-carbon molecule is going to be changed into fumarate. During this reaction, we're not losing a carbon. You can see we start and end with 4 carbons. We're also going to produce a molecule known as ATP here. Now, it's technically something called GTP, but we're just going to kind of think about it being ATP. And we're also going to produce something called FADH2. This is another molecule that's going to carry the electrons to the next step. Fumarate, which is 4 carbons, is going to become oxyl acetate again after NAD becomes NADH. So again, this is going to be reduced since it's gaining the electrons. Anytime you see NAD becoming NADH in this step, it's taking the electrons away from the organic molecules. The organic molecules being the ones here that are shown with the carbon atoms. Now, oxyl acetate, which is 4 carbons, is going to bind again to the acetyl-CoA once another acetyl-CoA enters this process. But as you can see, this is just a cyclic process that goes around and around. So again, since glucose turns this whole process twice, we produce 4 CO2, 2 ATP, 2 FADH2, and 6 NADHs. So far, we haven't really produced a lot of ATP. We only have produced 2 in glycolysis and 2 in the Krebs cycle. But a lot of our energy is going to be, at this point, stored in those molecules of NADH and FADH2. They're going to go on to the next step, which is going to be really important because it produces the majority of ATP during aerobic cellular respiration. Yeah, there are a lot of words here. I resonate with this meme because I used to be like this where I would learn the Krebs cycle and then forget it, when I was studying this in college. But now that I teach it, I don't think I can ever forget it. I just know it like the back of my hand.